Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. And there are so many here whose names I know. Every single one of you, known unto God, is just a phrase. But you ask the ones who have been healed in these past months and years, and they know what it is, known unto God. They're here. It seems trite, but I wish they could stand and give their testimony, the testimony of the soul, which is interdimensional, that says, I know I am known by God for what has happened to me. I know each of you in this way, in this profound way. I have known you forever backwards. Imagine eternity, if you will, in 3D, and now turn it around and push it backwards. Time that never began. That's how long I've known you. Think for a moment. Use your intellect and your intuition for a moment. This is not biology that surges through your veins. It is divinity. The spark of what you call intelligence and life is forever. It is divine. And you all know it. You've even invented rules for your religions that echo it. Almost 90% of the earth has religions that believe you go somewhere else when you die. What does that tell you about expectations of life? It's intuition, is it not, that shouts that you're not finished when life is done. It's not a concept I'm giving you. It's a concept you've given yourselves through your own intuition, your own divinity, that life is forever. Because you're linear, you don't understand that you always were and you always will be. Long before the earth was formed, you were with me and I was with you. We are connected. We always will be. A system is in place that you cannot remember, that is shielded from you because you're in the test. A system where I say goodbye to you before you come into this planet and say hello to you when you return, and you can't remember it, but I do. I do. I know your names because you're known unto God, and you know who is here. The ones who awaken first on this planet during this renaissance that is coming. The ones who awaken first are the old souls of the planet. The Lemurians and many others. Life after life after life, and you can't remember any of them. Hidden it is from you, but I remember. It puts you at a disadvantage, but it puts me at a disadvantage because I am in love with you. And that's what angels do with one another. Love is thick, it is pure, it is real, it is an energy which you can see and you can feel, and it pours into this place because it's precious. You know, this has been here for 100 years and more. There's a lot of history in here. It's not the only time that we have come into this room. Did you know that? Not in channeling, but in healing. Not in channeling, but in love. Not in channeling, but just so that we could sit next to those who are singing because they love God. Blessed is the human being who seeks the truth, for that's where we'll be. And that's a promise, you see. Blessed are those right now who can see the colors on the stage, for they're already here and we've not even begun. It's a powerful thing when you recognize the divinity in yourself. It's a powerful thing when you can trust your own intuition and your own emotions and put away what you've been taught enough to say, is this really so? Could God speak to you like this? Could Spirit speak to you like this? I'll say again, this is the way of it. I'll say it again for you to hear again. All of the scriptures that have been written by all of the prophets responsible for all of the multitudes of religious doctrine, none of them were written by God. All of them were written by humans under the influence of the love of God. That's the truth, and that's channeling. Oh, it's profound. Think of it. You've always had this. All of you can channel, if you want to call it that. All of you can connect, if you want to call it that. Every single one. Known by God, just waiting for you to take the hand of your higher self. That's always been the invitation, except now there's something coming. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But first, how many of you would like to leave differently than you came? I'm hearing a lot of answers. You see, I know who you are, known by God. There are those of you who have things surging through your body right now. You wish it were not there. And you wonder, why me, God? And I'll tell you why you. Because of this moment. That's why. So you could get rid of it. With your own divinity, nothing from here. Angel, maybe it's time for you to wake up. Truly awaken and say, I accept. I accept the power of my higher self, and I am far more than I thought I was when I walked in. That's what's here. Oh, it's all presented in 3D, you know. Difficult to explain, but you can feel it. It's a sweet place here tonight as we start these teachings, a sweet place. The Mayans and the Aztecs, they knew something you don't. Their calendars did more than represent to you the ages. Instead, they represented the energies of the ages. And they had names for them and the cycles they went through, and they all agreed that something would happen in 2012. Some even called it the end of time. That profound. The Mayans called it the age of the new sun, meaning a new energy was upon you. We call it a renaissance. This is the great shift. This is what many of us have been telling you for all these years, since 1989. It's coming. And it's not the end of all things, hardly. It is the beginning of all things, and it will have taken you almost a generation to create it. 2012 is the beginning, a marker of a potential on the planet that we have called the New Jerusalem. And when that time arrives, I want you to look around and see the changes that you have wrought. Free choice it is within you to do this and create this, but the potentials are there. Now let me speak about how this works. I'm going to speak about interdimensional things, difficult things for you to understand. And we're going to do it in a circle. I'm going to title this, The Many Yous. Many of you, although you cannot see it and although it is invisible, you have the concept of what we have called multiple lives. Only you see them linear, and we don't. To you, a past life is a life on this planet that you have lived in what you call your linear behind, linear past. You are currently in a life that you call my present life, and if you are astute, you understand this is not the last one, even though some of you think it is. Oh, human, you're so quick to pat yourself on the back and say, well, I've done it. I'm not coming back. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Oh, it's free choice, but I'll tell you what your choice will be. You're coming back. Why would you miss it? Why would you miss what you have spent so long to create? You will be back. You have a different perspective now. You're in the trenches, you're doing the work, and some of you are tired. But on the other side of the veil, you'll turn and look at me and say, how soon are we allowed? And I'll tell you, how about now? Interdimensionality is very difficult to understand, as my partner has said. Let me define for you your interdimensional creatureness. You're an angel. Always were, always will be. Temporarily, you are on this planet, and a piece of you is human. A piece of you is human. Now, you think the whole intellect is here, don't you? It is not. Only a portion of it is here. The rest is kept hidden, but it's still connected. You're in a quantum state with yourself, and the rest of you is somewhere else. The question was asked, can you do a seemingly circus feat? Can you be in two places at the same time? I will tell you this, you can be in multiple places at the same time, and you are. But let me tell you who is in charge, the one that's here. You don't have multiple brains, you just have multiple interdimensional pieces. Many of them, hundreds of them. For some of you, let me explain. I'll explain one of them. One of them's attached to you. It's called the higher self. That's one. And the one that's in you right now, that part of you, the human self, which some of you have even audaciously called the lower self, it's not so. That's how you think of yourselves, don't you? I'm going to call it the human divine self. That one longs to connect to the higher self. And that, my friends, is the purpose of your life. You connect to the higher self, you become a lighthouse. You fulfill what you came for. That is your purpose here. If you want to ask what you're supposed to be doing, you connect. Get reconnected, if you want to say that. You are an interdimensional being, able to be in many places at the same time, in a different time frame, but always connected to one source in this circle of life. Now let me tell you what this means to the concept of past lives. There is no such thing. That's what it means. For when you leave this planet, you will be out of time. There is no time. It's something that has been manufactured for your comfort in 4D. Now, let me tell you what this means to you. Now, listen carefully. This is important. You think you've got past lives? You don't. You have multiple current lives, all at the same time. You see, when you get out of time, what are you going to call it? Think of it this way. A whole layer of lifetimes that you're living at the same time right now. They're all now lives, all of them. But there's one on top that's in control, and that's the one that you are living on top now. Not in the past, now. The one that you have, which is currently occupying your body, which you think is the only one, talks to all of the others in what you call the Akashic record, which is an interdimensional concept and one of the layers of your DNA, which is also invisible, also interdimensional, reminding you that all of the other lives are still there, being lived at the same time in an interdimensional way. Why do I tell you this? Because there, my friends, is the storehouse of your power. How would you like to have the benefit of everything you've ever done as an angel since you arrived here, Lemurian? How about 52,000 years worth of experience? How would you like to have that, Lemurian? Well, I'll tell you, you connect to the higher self and suddenly the quantum effect takes place and you're connected to all of them at the same time. And some of you know what I'm talking about and some of you don't, because there is the wisdom of the ages. Shaman. You can dig down into those lives which you are currently living all at once. And the one that's in charge, this one here, right now, can choose to pick the best parts of each and bring them up and use them. Here's what I mean. We've broached this before in a different way. I'm going to use my partner once again, and he doesn't like this when I talk about it. But while he was on this planet, considering being the channel that he is now, while he was considering it, the considerations went like this. I cannot write anything I never have. I cannot speak in front of an audience I never have. Now, what we showed him, in a way he still doesn't understand he did, was he reached down into the past lives he thought were behind him, which were actually part of him, active, that he was still living. And he pulled out the one who was literary. He pulled out the one who was the orator. He pulled out the things he needed, and you see the result. Talents that were not present when he was born, he reached down and picked them out of the essence of the Akashic record, which is alive and well and living in his life. And this is the promise that you can do as well. Which one of those do you want? Shaman? I'll give you something else to think about. If you don't believe in the past lives, let me ask you this. I'll give you a logical one in 4D. It'll satisfy you. Do you remember when you were 10? The answer is yes. Well, so does your DNA. How about that one? Imprinted in your body is a memory that has a cellular stamp on it that says 10 years old. You see, it's still there. There is no such thing as time. It's still there. It's a cellular memory. How would you like to visit it? And you might say, well, why would I do that? And I'll tell you, because your DNA was clean and it was pure and it was whole and it was young. How about that one? How would you like to ask your body in your next meditation, go to the 10-year-old DNA. That's what I want you to replicate. Body reproduces itself all the time. Let's go to the 10-year-old DNA. Young, pure, fresh energy of the youngster that can't even sit still. It's alive. It's there. It's now. Oh, and this concept you have of the future, and the many use the future. Let me give you a snapshot. You'll say, Kryon, there's a dichotomy here. You say, God can do anything. And yet you also say that God doesn't know our future. How can that be? It's easy. I'll give you the answer. We know the potentials of all of the things that you might do. It's extremely complex to you. To us, it is not. It's interdimensional.